Good morning, students. Welcome to 7th Standard Social Science, Term 3, Civics, Second Unit, Market and Consumer Protection. So, children, listen carefully to this session, and in case of any doubts, make a note of it. We shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, now let's enter into today's topic. So, today we are going to see about the market and how the consumer can claim a good product from the market, and if it is not good, how they can approach the place. So, when we talk about market, we generally visualize crowded place with a lot of shops and consumers. So, people are buying different types of goods like groceries, clothing, electronics, etc. in the market. And the shops are also selling a variety of products and services as well. So, in a traditional sense, a market is a place where the buyers and sellers meet to exchange their goods and services. So, what is market in economics? So, how we can describe a market in economics? So, in economics, we do not refer a market to a physical place. Economists describe a market as coming together of buyers and sellers. So, market is a place where the buyer and sellers meet. That is an arrangement where buyers and sellers come in direct or indirect contact to sell or buy goods and services. And also, a marketplace is a place where the seller and buyer, they exchange their goods and services. And now let's see the features of market. So, what are the main features of market? So, first one is, in economics, the term market refers to the shops for one commodity or a set of commodities. A shop which is specialized for one product or a set of products. For example, a market for rice, a market for cloth, a market for electronic goods, like that. And also, a market is not restricted to one physical or geographical location. So, it is not restricted to a particular location. It covers the general wide area and the demand and supply forces of the region. So, it covers the demand and supply resources. And there must be a group of buyers and sellers of the commodity to constitute a market. So, the buyers and sellers only, they combine to form a market, and the relation between these sellers and buyers must be a business relation. Both sellers and buyers must have access to knowledge about the market. So, both the sellers and the buyers must have knowledge about the market, and there should be an awareness about the demand for consumer choices and preferences and fashion trends. And also, at a given time, only one price can be prevalent in the market for the goods and services. This is only possible in the existence of perfect competition. So, there must be a single price for goods and services. So, now let's see the classification of markets. So, how the markets are classified. So, it is broadly classified into product market and factor market. So, we can classify the market as product and factor market. So, broadly, there are two classification of markets, the product market and the factor market. The factor market refers to the market for buying and selling the factors of production like land, capital, labor. So, these comes under factor market. So, now let's see the other classification of markets. So, let's see the other classification of markets. So, first one is on the basis of geographic location, second one is on the basis of time, and third one on the basis of nature of transaction, and fourth one on the basis of regulation, and finally on the basis of nature of competition. So, let's see the classification. So, first one is on the basis of geographical location. It is classified into local markets. So, local market is a market. The buyers and sellers are limited to local region or area. So, they belong to a particular local area, and they usually sell perishable goods. So, the goods which will not be destroyed of daily used, since the transportation of such goods can be expensive. So, next kind of market is regional market. So, these markets cover a wider are the local markets like a district or a cluster of few smaller states. So, regional market is much wider than the local market. So, it covers a district or a cluster of few smaller states. And next type of market is national market. So this is when the demand for the goods is limited to one specific country, or the government may not allow the trade of such goods outside the national boundaries. So national market is meant for the nation. And next one is international market. So when the demand for the product is international and the goods are also traded internationally in bulk quantities, we call it as international market. So international market is exporting the goods to foreign countries. And next is on the basis of time. So we can classify the market on the basis of time. So first one is very short period market. So very short period market means this is when the supply of goods is fixed. So the supply of goods and the demand is fixed, and also this cannot be changed instantly. Say for example the market of flowers, vegetables, fruits, etc. and the price of goods will depend on the demand. So this has a limited quantity. So for example flower market, vegetable market and fruit market. And next one is short period market. So the market is slightly longer than the previous one. It is slightly longer than the very short period. Here the supply can be slightly adjusted. And next one is long period market. Here the supply can be changed easily by scaling production. So it can change according to the demand of the market. So the market will determine its equilibrium price in time. For example, iron and steel industry market. So these comes under long period market. So next we can see about on the basis of nature of transaction how the market is classified. So on the basis of nature of transaction, first one is spot market. So this is where the spot transaction occurs. Spot the money will be given. So this is where the spot transaction occurs, and that is the money is paid immediately without any credit. So the money is paid on spot in spot market. And next type of market on the basis of transaction is future market. This is where the transactions are credit transactions. So we can pay like EMI comes under future market. There is a promise to pay the consideration sometime in the future. Now let's see the classification of market on the basis of regulation. So first one is regulated market. So first let's see the definition of regulated market. In such a market, there is some oversight by appropriate government authorities. This is to ensure that are no unfair trade practices in the market. Such markets may refer to a product or even a group of products. For example, the stock market is highly regulated market. So regulated market means it runs under the control of government. And next one is unregulated market. This is an absolutely free market. So unregulated market doesn't comes under government and there is no oversight or regulation, and the market forces decide everything. So the market will decide their own rules and regulations. Now let's see the classification of market based on the nature of competition. So first one is monopoly market. So monopoly refers to a market structure in which there is a single producer or seller that has control on the entire market. So mono means single. So monopoly market refers to the structure in which there is a single producer or seller. This single seller deals in the products that have no close substitutes. So they deal with the product which have no substitution. So monopolistic competition means many sellers and there are many firms competing for the same group of customers. For example, books, CD, movies, computer games, restaurant, fast food, cookies. So they are targeting the same customers. And also the term monopolistic competition was given by Professor Edward H. Chamberlain of Harvard University in 1933 in his book Theory of Monopolistic Competition. So this term was derived by Professor Edward H. Chamberlain of Harvard University. And also the term monopolistic competition represents the combination of monopoly and perfect competition. Monopolistic competition refers to the market situation in which there are large number of buyers and sellers of products. So monopolistic competition means targeting the same customers, and it has a largest competitive range in the market. So now let's move on to oligopoly. So let's see the definition for the term oligopoly. So oligopoly market system means independent supplier control supply and demand for the products. For example, airlines, automotive industries, banking companies comes under oligopoly market system. So these are all the companies: airlines, commercial aircraft manufacture, automobile companies, hardware stores, everything comes under oligopoly market. So the term oligopoly has been derived from two Greek words. Oligo means few and poly means control. Therefore, oligopoly refers to a market form in which there are few sellers dealing either in homogeneous or differentiated products. So now let's see who is a consumer or who is a customer. A consumer is a person who purchases a product or avails a service for a consideration, either for his personal use or to earn his livelihood by means of self-employment. So a consumer is a person who go and buys the product for personal use or for business use. So now let's see who is not a consumer. If a person is not a consumer means if he purchases any goods or avails any service free of charge. So if he buys a free product, then he is not a customer. Purchases a goods and hires a service for commercial purpose. If he purchases the good or hires a service for business purpose, he is not a customer. Avails any service under contract of service. So if he buys any service under contract, then he is not a consumer. So now let's see what is unfair trade practice. So what is the meaning of unfair trade practice? An unfair trade practice means a trade practice which, for the purpose of promoting any sale, use or supply of any goods or services, adopts unfair method or unfair or deceptive practice. So unfair trade practice means giving false advertisement about the product. So it comes under unfair trade practice. So for example, some practices are false representation. Some false advertisement will come. And also when goods and services are not of stated standard quality or grade. So when the goods or service have low grade or standard, or when second hand renovated goods are sold as new ones. When the second hand products are renovated and sold as a new one, it is an unfair trade. And when goods and services do not have claimed use or usefulness or benefit. So when the goods doesn't have any benefit for the consumer, it is an unfair trade. And then when products or services do not have the claimed warranty, if it doesn't have any warranty or guarantee, then it is unfair trade. And next one is when the price of the product or service is misleading. When the price is very heavy, and false and misleading advertisement of selling and bargain price. So false advertisement for the product and offering gifts, prices, etc. can lure the customers with no intention of providing them. So by providing the gifts, they will sell out the products. So it is also unfair trade. And selling the goods which do not fall within the safety standards set up by the competent authority. So when the goods is sold out without any safety standard, it is an unfair trade. And also hoardings or destroying goods with the intention of raising the cost of these or similar goods manufactured in greater number so as to manipulate higher prices. So selling the destroyed goods comes under unfair trade. And also manufacturing or offering spurious goods or adopting deceptive practice in the provision of services. So these are all some unfair trade practices in the market. So now let's see how we can protest against those unfair practices. So that is consumer protection. So let's see it. Consumer protection is a group of laws enacted to protect the rights of consumers, fair trade, competition and accurate information in the marketplace. So consumer protection is a kind of laws which protect the rights of the consumers. And also the laws are designed to prevent the business that engage in unfair practices from gaining an advantage over the competitors. So these laws will give punishment for the market who practice unfair trade. And consumer protection laws are a form of government regulations that aim to protect the rights of the consumers. For example, a government may require businesses to disclose detailed information about products, particularly in areas where safety or public health is an issue, such as food. So, consumer protection laws are a form of government laws like rules and regulation. The main motive is to protect the consumers to buy a right product. And consumer protection is linked to the ideas of consumer rights and to the formation of consumer organizations, which helps consumer make better choices in the marketplace and get help with consumer complaint. So if you are not satisfied with any product, you can raise the consumer complaint. So one such consumer complaint is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, that is TRAI. And next one is IRDAI, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, IRDAI. So now let's see the 8 basic consumer rights. So the 8 basic consumer rights is an important 2 marks, or it may be asked in detail also. First one is the right of basic needs. So first one is the right of basic needs. It guarantees survival, adequate clothing, shelter, healthcare, education and sanitation. Second one is the right of safety. The right is to be protected against the marketing of goods or the provision of services that are hazardous to health and life. Third one is right of information. So the right to be protected against dishonest and misleading advertising or labeling, and the right to be given the fact and information needed to make an informed choice. And next one is right to choose. The right to choose products at competitive prices with an assurance of satisfactory quality. And next one is right to representation. The right to express consumer interest in making and execution of government policies. And next one is right to redress. The right to be compensated to mispresentation and shoddy goods or unsatisfactory services. And next one is right to consumer education. The right to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to be informed consumers. And next one is right to an healthy environment. The right to live and work in an environment where is neither threatening or dangerous and which permits a life of dignity and well-being. So these are all the 8 basic consumer rights. So now let's see about the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, which is also called COBRA, C-O-P-R-A. So this act enacted in 1986 in the Parliament of India to protect the interest of consumers. It makes for the establishment of consumer councils and other authorities for the settlement of consumers' grievances and for matters connected there with it. The act was passed in the Assembly in October 1986 and came into force on December 24, 1986. So, Consumer Protection Act is a council which deals with the consumer complaints. And next is COBRA. So, COBRA is Consumer Protection Act. Is regarded as the Magna Carta in the field of consumer protection for checking unfair trade practices, defects in goods and deficiency in service. As far as India is concerned, it has led to the establishment of a widespread network of consumer forums and appellate courts all over India. It has significantly impacted how businesses approach consumer complaints and has empowered consumers to a great extent. So, COBRA is related as an important document, or it is regarded as a Magna Carta for consumer protection. It deals with all the consumer complaints with the help of the forums or the blog or the appellate court. And also Consumer Dispute Redressal Agency. So let's see about it. National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, that is NCDRC, established by the central government. It deals with the matters of more than 10 million. So this commission was established by central government and it deals with more than 10 million cases. Next one is SCDRC, that means State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. It is also known as State Commission, established by the state government in each state, and it is a state level court that takes up cases value less than 10 million. So less than 10 million, it handles the case and it is at the state level. And next one is DCDRF, that is District Consumer Dispute Redressal Forum. So it is at the district level. It is also known as district forum, established by the state government in each district of the state. So the consumer can raise the complaint. Now let's see about the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. So the Indian Parliament in August 2019 passed the landmark Consumer Protection Bill of 2019, which aims to provide the timely and effective administration and settlement of consumer dispute in the digital age. So the consumer can file the complaint on the website and the case can be solved digitally. So now let's see what are the highlights of the new act. So before that, the new act will come into force on such date as central government may so notify, and the new act seeks to replace more than 3 decades old Consumer Protection Act, that is 1986 Act. So now let's see what are the highlights of the new act. So first one is e-commerce transaction. So first one is e-commerce transaction, where everything is done digitally. So let's see. The new act has witnessed the definition of consumer. The definition now includes any person who buys any goods, whether through offline or online transaction or through electronic means, teleshopping or direct selling or multi-level marketing. So every one are called consumers or customers. Next one is enhancement of pecuniary jurisdiction. So enhancement of pecuniary jurisdiction. So let's see it. Revised pecuniary limits have been fixed under the new act. Accordingly, the district forum can now entertain consumer complaints where the value of goods and services paid not exceed Indian rupees of 10 million. So it can handle the district level cases. And next is the state commission can entertain disputes where such values exceeds 10 million. So if it exceeds 10 million, it comes under state commission, but does not exceed Indian rupees of 100 million. And the National Commission can exercise jurisdiction where the value exceeds 100 million. So according to the product value, the complaints can be raised in state level or district level or national level. So now let's see how a consumer can file a complaint. So how a consumer can file a complaint through online, that is e-filing of complaints. So let's see about the e-filing of complaints. So the new act contains enabling provisions for consumers to file complaints electronically and for hearing or examining parties through video conferencing. So through video conferencing, we can file the complaint. Next one is establishment of Central Consumer Protection Authority. So establishment of Central Consumer Protection Authority. So the new act proposes the establishment of regulatory authority known as Central Consumer Protection Authority with wide powers of enforcement, and this authority have an investigation wing headed by Director General which may conduct inquiry or investigate the consumer law violation. So it is a special kind of authority having one investigation team, so they will investigate the case. And next one is unfair trade practice. So unfair trade practice in this new act, it introduced a specific broad definition of unfair trade practices, which also includes sharing of personal information given by the consumer in confidence unless such disclosure is made in accordance with the provision of any other law. So this new act, it includes one feature that the personal information of the consumer should not be shared to others. And next one is false advertisement, that is penalties for misleading advertisement. So there will be a fine. So let's see it. The CCPA may impose a penalty of up to 110 lakh rupees on the manufacturer or an endorser for the false or misleading advertisement. So the commission can put a penalty of 10 lakh rupees for false advertisement and may also sentence them to imprisonment. So they can also be imprisoned for about 2 years. And next is, in case of subsequent offence, the fine may extend to up to 50 lakhs and imprisonment can extend to 5 years. And it can also prohibit the endorser of the misleading advertisement from endorsing that particular product or service for a period of up to 1 year. And for every subsequent offence, the period of prohibition may extend to 3 years. So these are all the punishment given for false advertisement. So now let's see about the consumer courts in India. So what are the consumer courts? First one is National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, that is NCDRC court. It is at the national level court, works for the whole country and deals with compensation claimed exceeds rupees 1 crore. And next type of court is the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, that is it is a quasi-judicial commission in India which was set up in 1988 under the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Its head office is in New Delhi and the commission is headed by a sitting or retired judge of the Supreme Court of India. And the next type of court is State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, that is SCDRC. It is a state level court. It works at state level with cases where compensation is claimed up to 20 lakhs but up to 1 crore. So from 20 lakhs to 1 crore. And the state commission also has appellate jurisdiction over the district forum. So the district consumer court, it works under the state commission. So now let's see about the District Consumer Dispute Redressal Forum, that is DCDRF. It is at the district level court. It works at the district level and the compensation claimed is up to 20 lakhs. So now let's see some important acts for consumer protection. First one is the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 and second one is the Legal Metrology Act of 2009 and the Bureau of Indian Standard Act of 1986. And next one is the Essential Commodities Act of 1955 and the Prevention of Black Marketing and Maintenance of Supplies of Essential Commodities Act of 1980. So these are all the important acts for consumer protection. So children, I hope you are clear with today's session. So with this video, your market lesson is completed. And today's topic are covered in your textbook pages. So refer your textbook pages starting from page number 190 to 195. So now it's time for questions. So let's see some evaluation questions. And in case of any doubts, you can go through the whole session video once again or else you can refer your textbook. So let's see some questions. So first one, a setup where two or more parties engage in of goods and services and information is called a market. Engage in what? And in regulated markets, there is some oversight by appropriate of what authorities, and what refers to a market structure in which there is a single producer or seller that has a control on the entire market, and what is the statute which is regarded as the Magna Carta in the field of consumer protection for checking unfair trade practices, and finally, the Consumer Protection Act was passed in which year? So children, try to answer all these questions in the notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So with this video, your market and consumer protection lesson is completed. Thank you.